Welcome to Things Invest, where we talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's video, that its purposes only. The investment I'm going to talk about today would be Tesla, ticker TSLA. So with respect to Tesla as a whole, recently someone named Anonymous posted a video directly to Elon Musk. And based on media affectation, it seems like this video has gone basically viral and now it has about like 2.2 million hits posted since June 4th. And me, I had an interesting experience this weekend. Someone named also Anonymous has posted this link to this video to several of my Tesla technical analysis video in the commentary sections of my videos. So it piqued my interest and it definitely got my attention. So I'm gonna, spend some time, next 25 minutes to go through this video, to give you guys my in-depth analysis. And my characterization of this video as a whole. So stay tuned, stick around, and let's make some money. Let's take a look at this video. Anonymous message to Elon Musk. Play, let's see. It's my first time doing like a reaction video, so bear with me on this. Anonymous. This is synonymous to like the Lionsgate production intro. Like any movies that's made by Lionsgate looks exactly like this color, exact same style. So it's kind of interesting to see this.
Greetings, citizens of the world. This is a message from
Are they
Anonymous
cropped like?
for
Is it
Elon
cropped
Musk.
16 by
For
19?
the past several years, you have
filmed by,
enjoyed
like,
one
an
of the
iPhone
most
or something.
favorable reputations of anyone in the billionaire class, because you have tapped into the desire that many of us have to live in a world
Right.
with electric cars and space exploration. But recently, your carefully created public image is being exposed, and people.
Wait, hold on. Carefully created image being exposed. I think Elon Musk is one of those people that are, he's brilliant as like an entrepreneur, as an inventor himself, but I don't think he's someone that is that emotional, intelligent in a way that he's able to artificially create a public relations scheme. I don't think he's like deliberately trying to position himself in a certain way in the media to affect or influence people around the world or his investors or whatever. I think he's someone that's he just goes with the flow. He does what he feels. Just like it's we have observed over time with respect to the earnings calls that we have seen him execute with alongside the CFO. We have heard from like some of the media publications. We also seen him in talk shows, in like public speeches. He's someone that is not the most articulate person, right? I'm not saying he's not smart. It's just that he has a tough time, synthesizing his thought and his mind into very easily digestible, speech or communications, right? He's not a communication skill is something that we all have seen that he has areas of improve on, right? And with respect to like the point that Anonymous is making right now on setting himself up in a certain way to influence people, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think Elon, it could be interesting for him to maybe appoint or consult with like a media coach or some sort of like get some media training, if you may, because ultimately as a CEO you are a public figure. You have to be able to sell and convey confidence among investors, and I don't think Elon Musk is someone that is able to do that. He's more like an engineering by trade type of person. He's more technical, but in terms of like communicating or try to sell or like pitch or fundraise, I think that's something that other team members at Tesla can be complementary to him. But anyways, keep going.
People are beginning to see you as nothing more than another narcissistic rich dude who is desperate for attention.
I do agree with that. I think being narcissistic for attention, I think everybody wants to feel important, right? And I think with respect to his sporadic Twitter posts that he posts on like Dogecoin or other things, or even like being on TV sometimes, right? With respect to being on I believe on SNL, and also being in movies like Iron Man, which I've seen him like in one scene before, or I think what do you call that? The Big Bang Theory, which I saw him in one of those skits I believe he was like doing some sort of like volunteering on Thanksgiving. To I don't know. Anyways, so he does like to have some sort of like media attention, right? He does like to be in front of the camera. He does likes to feel like he's influencing people based on his post, and I think it's a powerful thing, right? And I think that has to do with something internally about the way he grew up. And I think he's like the youngest child out of the family. So I think typically the youngest child or the middle child. I don't know like the family dynamics enough, but and also on top of the fact that he came from a pretty scholastic family, right? His families are well educated, and with respect to his siblings, they were born and raised into the more affluent part of the South African region, right? And so they were cultivated, at a very young age to be scholastic. And also I've seen the documentary on Elon Musk history. He was always relatively precocious as a kid. He's always been good at school, um, and I guess he was also bullied growing up at the same time. That I think now he's being as successful as he is, using the social media as a form of influencing people, and also to build this business like Tesla to as a testament of success. You know, this is like those Twitter posts. Those are like triggers internally that he's struggling within himself. He's like deep inside. I think he's seeking for attention that we don't know because we don't know him as a person. Like I'm not his mother. I'm not May Musk. But that's something that we know him a little bit more as a person, that he likes the attention, and I think the attention stems from the lack thereof, that stems within him side, that cultivated ever since his youth. But that's something to he's a human, right? He's not a robot. So, anyways,
It appears that your quest to save the world is more rooted in a superiority and savior complex than it is in actual concern for humanity.
I don't know if that's true.
This has been obvious to your employees for a long time, who have faced intolerable conditions under your command for years.
It is true. I did work at a tech company in Silicon Valley before, and I have a lot of former colleagues that used to work at Tesla before. That Elon Musk, and I wouldn't just say Elon Musk, but like the whole management team at Tesla, it's been notorious for having extremely demanding timeline, very rigorous hours. The work streams are sometimes pretty hard to tolerate, and the reason for that is because they're extremely fast growing company, and I think that can be speak for a lot of tech companies in Silicon Valley, not just for Tesla, but for like Uber, which is notorious for having a really toxic culture. A lot of people are very competitive. At the same time, everybody try to rise in ranks while the company is growing at the same time, with lack of delegations, with lack of structural alignments in an organization perspective. Yeah, obviously, it can make it pretty detrimental, or not the most suitable work environment, if you may. But that's the reason why they're able to sustain the growth that they have, right? Because of the internalized pressure on really focusing on the mission, right? Being very objectively focused on that long-term vision, right? By pushing through on a daily basis to grind that out. And that boils down from the management team, right? I think Elon Musk is someone that I think he's someone that's very hard on himself. That's how he's able to accomplish multiple things, right? With both SpaceX, with Tesla, with the space shuttle, and all that stuff, right? That he's making. He's really trying to change the world, evolve human race for the better. And I think to do that, you need someone that's a little bit crazy, right? And I think to do that with the management team, go kind of like disseminate down from the top to bottom, that could obviously have some overbearing pressure among the organization. So I don't disagree with this point here.
It is also obvious to the young children working in your overseas lithium mines, which are destroying the local environment as well. You have been open about your willingness to stage coups in order to install dictators in places where your toxic products are being mined. You have even
I don't really think that's really true. I think a lot of companies, not just like Tesla, right? A lot of companies utilize foreign exports for cheaper goods, cheaper more raw material, and there are certain materials like rare earth or steel material that they need to use to architect their car or that parts of the car, they're not sourced like all over the place, right? They're sourced specifically in certain regions that are a little bit more politically sensitive than other countries, right? So just because like he sources from these countries and make a collaboration in a contractual perspective in return for those source of materials, obviously through that process you need to negotiate, you need to go back and forth, you need to obviously contract with those entities, right? And I think those entities are a little bit of a taboo that people kind of twist the facts a little bit to make Elon look like he's the bad guy in this equation, but in actuality, I think is really not the fact. He just a company like Tesla is a global company, right? There are a lot of specific material that it needs, and a lot of raw material comes from those third world country or other countries that are more politically tensed. That's the fact of corporations. That's the fact of companies, and that doesn't. That's not really a 100% valid point. The way that they're depicting here.
Surely crowned yourself Emperor of Mars, a place where you will be sending people to die.
I don't understand what that means. Sending people to die. Earth is a dying planet, right? I think it's with the carbon pollution, with the global warming, setting up Mars for the next stage of human race is just it's something that is ambitious, but obviously I don't think within our lifetime we'll be able to get there. But claiming himself as the Emperor of Mars, I don't think he has ever said that specifically or anecdotally. And I don't even know what he means by sending people to die. I think that doesn't really make any sense logically speaking. What do you mean to die?
Your fanboys overlook these issues because they are focused on the potential good that your projects can bring to the world, but you are not the only show in town, and your competition is growing more intense with each passing day.
Yep, I do agree. The competition is growing more and more intense each day, right? There are a lot of companies like NIO, Xpeng, Li Auto, Lucid Motor. All those companies are competing, right? But that doesn't mean it's like detrimental to Tesla's business, like, right? You could have multiple comparable companies that are in the same space, right? The market is so wide. There's so much green space in the market right now. And with respect to Tesla, the technological engineering capability is so far ahead in comparison to these other companies. And also on top of that, Tesla has a lot more cash on the balance sheet, right? So they have a lot more market power at the same time to execute and obviously to continue to grow and thrive going forward, right? So competition is a healthy thing. It is necessary for you to make the world a better place, right? Because competition, subsequently turn into evolution, and we need that in businesses, in life, in people's relationship, as a whole. So I don't know what they mean as a detriment based on how he's characterizing it here.
There are plenty of other companies working on space exploration and electric vehicles. You are just the only CEO who has gained a cult following through shitposting and trolling the world on.
I think that's too simpleton in this depiction right here. Just because you have a cult following doesn't mean that people are just gonna invest in you just simply because you have a cult following. That's like kind of putting the public investors down, right? Because like I don't think you and I are that simple, right? We don't just take anything or invest in anything based on face value, right? We oftentimes think through it. We are investing our hard-earned money into these investment opportunities. We're not just gonna simply put the money in because we like somebody, right? We never invest that way. At least I don't, and I can speak on behalf of a lot of my audience that are watching my videos, and I think that's the reason that we are skeptical. The reason that we are staying objective is because we are investing based on the value proposition of the company, the business fundamentals, not just purely based on do I like how he looks, do we like the fact that he's pumping Dogecoin, or the way he talks, or the way he looks. No, right? That's not really that kind of undermine us as public investors at the same time. So I kind of take offense to this a little bit.
Social media. In fact, many people are now learning that the vast majority of Tesla's income doesn't actually come from selling cars. It comes from government subsidies, selling carbon tax credits for your innovation with clean energy.
Well, that's true. I mean, it is true, but it's a form of an incentive for the government to work with Tesla, right, to cultivate this green evolution, right? Because the government, they're aware that the air pollutions, the gas pollutions, it's a detriment to our environment, right? To our health at the same time, right? People are breathing into these carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, with this petrochemical. They all have a lot of environmental risk, but also health risk to people around the world, and that's why I think our seasonal climates are relatively drastically different compared to like 50 years ago, right? You see the icebergs melting in North Pole. You see like a lot of sea animals dying. You see just how the plantations around the world are diminishing at the same time. There are a lot of environmental activists or advocates try to obviously fix this problem, and to cultivate this initiative on fixing the environment for the better so we can all have a healthier life while sustain Earth livelihood going forward. It's a grand mission, and I think the subsidy is just a way for the government to support Tesla as a long-term mission rather than just a pure form of income source for Tesla. So I think they're countering this point and maybe embellishing the point a little bit too drastic. The thesis that they try to make, as a support, is not evidentially sound, if that makes any sense, right? So, anyways, keep going.
Technically isn't your innovation though, because you aren't actually the founder of Tesla. You simply purchased the company from two people much more intelligent than you are, Martin Everhart and Mark Tarpenning.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla has also made more.
Well, those guys, like these guys they are inventors and engineers by trade, but they're not business people, right? For you to turn an idea, right, an invention from just a pure invention, right, like you building something in your mom's basement to become a company that is operationalized and institutionalized and grow from point A to point B is not a joke, right? It's hard to turn. It's a lot more of a different trade as an executive, right? Being a founder versus being a CEO that cultivate a company from a startup to a public traded company, those are all different things, right? We cannot really lump everything together. So I think the affectation that they try to portray here is relatively too rudimentary. Just because like Elon Musk, he bought a large, I believe at the Series A stage of the company, Elon Musk bought about 90% of the stake at the time from the two founders, and I think he invested like 7.6 million of his own money. The two original founders, yes, they were the founder of Tesla, us like just a car, right? But with respect to the growth of the business, like shifting from just being electric car to how Tesla's shifting to become what it is now, it requires like corporate strategy, it requires like human capital management, it requires capital raising and investors relations, it requires going out on the road pitching to investors, it requires operationalizing the engineering, the product, the software capabilities, it requires you to build up a team. It requires a lot of different skills that those two like original founders probably didn't really have the essential toolkit or the skill set to do so. And I think Elon Musk, knowing the fact that he has the experience, right? He built PayPal, right, which was X.com in the beginning to become PayPal. So he has some operational experience prior, right? And on top of his like experience working as a rocket scientist and obviously as a scientist, someone that's a lot more on the technical spectrum, he's able to basically marry those two of those experiences, right? Finding a company, and then at the same time being a business operator, and at the same time an inventor and a technician, all in one capsulation of building a business, right? So I think the way they depict it here is it's not that fair to Elon Musk, right? I think he saw a great opportunity for the transformation of the world for the better, and I'm not trying to discredit the two original founders, just that I think Anonymous should give a lot more credit to Elon Musk because of the fact that he it's a lot more that he has done than just like stealing their ideas and then try to capitalize on it just for the sake of capitalizing on it, right? He has actually built a business, scaling the business from just like a two-man show to a company with like 10,000, like 20, I don't even know how many employees they have around the world, but to a global company, that's going to be worth $1 trillion in the future.
More money holding Bitcoin for a few months than they did in years of selling cars. It is also more than likely that this Bitcoin was purchased with money from these government subsidies. It is now widely believed that you have been forced to denounce your company's involvement with Bitcoin in order to keep that green government money flowing into Tesla's coffers.
I think that's something that is verified yet. I don't know how he's like able to understand that is. I think Bitcoin was, obviously an opportune investment opportunity that we all had the opportunity to participate. And I think he just saw a right opportunity for the macro growth going forward. A lot of Silicon Valley companies are investing into Bitcoin, so it's not just Tesla. So for them to like try to connect the dots together that don't have like the specific alignment, it's I think the logic is kind of stretched here. So I don't know.
The energy use argument about proof of work mining is a very nuanced conversation that requires a fairly complex understanding of how power grids work and how excess energy is wasted by power companies and sought out by crypto miners.
Mhm.
This is a conversation that you have been having for over a year and were intimately aware of.
I don't know if that's the truth, right? He has been having conversations of this subject matter for years and years. I think he's learning about this technology just the way that we are, right? I think he's it's just because he has a lot more cash and a lot more power influence and he's a public figure doesn't mean that he's like at fault here. I mean, if you saw an opportunity to generate some quick returns based on how the market cycle is performing, if you read the technical analysis, we know that cryptocurrency is still in a bull cycle, and I think in Silicon Valley there's a lot of following ship type of mentality. Like if you see Square, you see PayPal, which obviously Elon Musk founded PayPal, right? Investing into Bitcoin, and you see like a lot of Chinese titans also are investing Bitcoins, and just a lot of adaptation and obviously utilization of Bitcoin globally speaking. Investing, back in a couple months ago, it was just a smart decision, right? And I've done it. So, are we at fault because of what we did? And can you stretch that the reason of making a generous return based on the facts of how you try to align with your thesis here? So I think that the thesis here is not the most like substantively valid based on what we see here.
But as soon as your main source of income was threatened, you pretended to be clueless in an attempt to play both sides of the fence. Then, your move to create a Bitcoin miner council was rightly seen as an attempt to centralize the industry and take it under your control.
I don't know how that is. I mean, I get it. Everybody have the internal ego, right? Everybody wants to feel powerful. They want to feel special. They want to feel like they're the influence of the generation, right? But I think I don't know why he keep consistently try to characterize Elon Musk as some sort of like controlled titan of the world, like try to control this industry, try to influence people, try to be the king of Mars, things like that. I don't know if there's something that he has, explicitly mentioned or projected to the public at all, right? I think Elon Musk. Think of him as like a really smart person, but he just has a tough time communicating, and sometimes he doesn't know that he's rubbing people the wrong way based on his actions. But because of the fact that he's such a public figure, people have to be watching his every move, right? And he's not the most calculated. He's not media trained either. He doesn't. I don't think he has a media coach that's training him how to publicly present himself in a public relations perspective, right? So I don't know where he gets this from. I think he just saw an opportunity to make a generous return in a short amount of time with this like whole global adoption going forward, and with $1 billion of capital, right, investing from Tesla's balance sheet into Bitcoin is a relatively small chunk of dollars in comparisons to the entire balance sheet, right? So, but I do agree with some of the points that he's saying here. Elon Musk is a sporadic tweeter, and I think again, right, it stemmed from the attention-seeking thing. But I think it's harmless, and I don't think he has the intention to harm people. It's just that he didn't know better, So, anyways,
Reading from the comments on your Twitter posts, it seems that the games you have played with the crypto markets have destroyed lives. Millions of retail investors were really counting on their crypto gains to improve their lives. This is something that you will never understand because you were born into the stolen wealth of a South African apartheid emerald mine and have no clue what struggle is like for most of the working people in the world.
I think that's a little bit too drastic in terms of the way the words are being used here. Yes, he was born in a wealthy family or in a wealthier, well, more affluent. Let's use the word affluent a little bit more of the South African community, right? He was growing up in a more of a I think he went to like a private school, and he was always very precocious, right? Like I said, like good at school, getting straight A's, and I think he skipped a couple grades as well. We don't know who he is, right? We don't know his family dynamics at all. We don't know how his relationship are with his siblings. We just know that he's a brilliant mind that is a poor communicator, right? But is that enough evidentiary support for us to say that he has no empathy or feelings towards poor people around the world, right, that are struggling? Obviously he made those stupid tweets sometimes about Dogecoin, right? But I think it's a joke, right? We all joke around, we all post stupid things sometimes on Instagram. I've done it, right, for the sake of just posting. It's funny, right? Because it's funny. Yeah, with respect to like the lack of responsibility, I do agree with it because some people follow his every move, right? Again, right, because he's such a public figure, you know. And I think the next viable option for him, or like a wise thing to do, is to consult with a media coach, right? A PR professional that's able to fix up his image a little bit better. And I think it's a fiduciary duty to the investors as well. So I do agree with Anonymous in this perspective.
Of course, they took the risk upon themselves when they invested, and everyone knows to be prepared for volatility in crypto, but your tweets this week show a clear disregard for the average working person. As hardworking people have their dreams liquidated over your public temper tantrums, you can...
I don't know. Again, right? It's just he's just sporadic tweeter. He likes to express his feelings sometimes, right? We all have those stupid moments that we like to post stupid things, right? And I guess, again, right? Going back to my point that he's not the best communicator. He's not the most logically intelligent in terms of how he likes to be perceived. Nor does he care, right? And again, right? I think it's just those type of attention-seeking moments that he wants to make himself feel better, or he's just looking for an opportunity to make himself feel better, or whatever. I don't know. I lost my thought there. But anyway.
Continue to mock them with memes from one of your $1,000,000 mansions. You may think you are the smartest person in the room, but now you have met your match. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. Expect us.
I think the video was interesting. I think there were some good points, but I do disagree some of the points that they make here. I think some of the thesis that they're trying to make here are a little bit too non-substantive in a way, right? It's because there are a lot more for us to learn about this character named Elon Musk, right? And I think obviously he's a person that is imperfect, right? And I think there are a lot of areas that he can improve on, right? And I think the way that Elon Musk can probably get a better media affectations or a better image in a public figure perspective, as an executive perspective, is to probably consult with like a media coach, or consult even with a PR company, right? To better tailor his story, right? While at the same time focus on the mission going forward. I think a viable option would be, probably make Elon Musk like the chief technology officer, or something that is a little bit more technologically focused, right? Focusing on the scientific side of the equation of building Tesla, right? Which is what he's good at, right? But at the same time, appoint someone who's an executive level, like a CEO figure, to complement that side of the skill set that he's lacking, right? Because I don't think Elon Musk is much of a communicator. He's not very good at no, not poor at, but like he has areas to improve based on his just how he conducts himself publicly, right? In terms of his public speech, in terms of like during his earnings call, in terms of like conveying people's confidence, presenting information into simple, digestible, clear message investors can understand, right? And I think those are areas that he needs to really work on. And I think, because of the fact that, Tesla is such a big company now, It makes sense to appoint a CEO and make Elon maybe a president of the company instead of being the CEO, because it's very different to be the founder versus being the CEO, right? I think the founder can focus on whatever that they're good at. What are like with which in this case Elon is very good at the technological engineering side, right? But with respect to being a CEO, on really encapsulating the essence and pitching to investors, motivating investors, sustaining fiduciary duty to the investors, that's something that he needs to really, really work on. So hopefully that's helpful with my characterization of this video.